WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
It's Monday at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. Thank you all for joining us again. We are always so pleased to have you join us. We don't take that for granted. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Well, it's Monday at 4. It's raining, but that's okay. Um, rain is good. We need rain. And so we're going to just continue to accept the rain. And when the sunshine comes, that makes the sunshine even better. So today we're going to talk about what? What's going to happen next Tuesday, everybody? Election Day. Election Day. Now, I know that you know how important it is to vote, but we're going to talk about it anyway because we are in serious, serious times, everyone. We're in serious, serious times because there are those who would rather we not vote. There are those who rather we just kind of sit around and say, okay, it's raining, so I'm not going to vote. It's a little windy, so I'm not going to vote. Or I'm just tired, I'm not going to vote. Don't do that. Don't fall for that. You must act as though voting is your job because on tomorrow, that is your job. You must go out and vote like your life depends on it because, frankly, it absolutely does. We've got too many important things going on in this world for us not to take it seriously, for us not to vote the way we're supposed to vote. We know how to vote, we know how important it is. You know, we have people who have died so that we would have the opportunity to vote. And so for us to say, oh, it doesn't matter, or for us to say, oh, the same old people are going to get in there, for us to say, oh, I don't care, they aren't doing anything anyway, that is not acceptable. It's absolutely not acceptable. So we have to make sure that we get our souls to the polls and we vote. We vote. We've got issues on this ballot that are so important. The issues that pertain to who's going to make decisions about the budget in our state, who's going to make decisions about how everything happens in our state. We need to make sure that we are out there voting and having our voice heard. We've got two wonderful guests today. I see one of them already. We've got Miss Monique Bryant on the show today, and Monique is going to talk to us about what she does and how she's been doing it for all those years. And we also have my good friend and church member, Dr. Deborah Hunter Harville, somebody I've known for probably, we're not going to say how many years we've known each other, but it's been a long time. And that's a good thing. Monique is a young lady that is like my daughter because she and my daughters were raised up together, went to school together, and so I'm just pleased to have both ends of the spectrum because we need both ends of the spectrum. We need to have the young voice, we need to have the seasoned, experienced voice who's been there, done that, and knows how to do it. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Deborah. Age has
Yes,
its
can you hear
perfect.
me?
And so you're going to go first to talk to us about Deborah Hunter Harville and what's going on with Dr. Deborah Hunter Harville.
So, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can. We can
Okay.
hear you and see you.
So, thank you for inviting me, first of all. Hello, Monique. How are you? In any case, I hope you're doing well.
Can
And I
Good
wish you,
afternoon, Dr. Harville.
yeah, I wish you the best.
Good.
Listen, there is a plan from above for 7 people to serve as school board members. I believe I'm one of them, and I pray and ask God to make me be one of them. I
okay.
have a real concern. Okay. So there are about 18 or 19 people on the ballot, and our kids are in need of assistance from the policy end for someone that has education in their background, too. I know the superintendent does, but the board and the superintendent work together to make what's best for our kids. So, as you know, I've been a principal, a teacher, a special ed teacher, a special ed director, a superintendent, president of the National Alliance of Black School Educators, and just a lot of things God has blessed me with. I want to remain on the board so that I can continue to share that expertise, bring that expertise to the district, talk about it with the superintendent, just help our children to be well, our staff to have the best professional development, help them to be well, and help our parents to be well. I have no hidden agenda. It's about educating the children because
Right,
education
right.
is a civil right. And I campaigned on that years ago, and that was my platform for the National Alliance of Black School Educators. And I remain the same. Education is a civil right. The contracts and all that stuff, that's a whole different animal. I'm talking about how do we increase special education? How do we make certain, how do we increase life for special education students? How do we increase good things for general ed students? How do we get more scholarships? How do we get more technical programs? How do we do what's best for children? that's where I am, Edna. I shoot straight from the hip, and I think that I need to stay there to be an intricate part of the plan. And so I welcome others to become members of the school board. I like the youthfulness that's engaged. I like the seasoned folk and even the more seasoned folk. You got a nice spectrum of educators. That's why I want to serve. I just want to make it better for our kids. I'm not
Absolutely.
really about anything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Monique, what's your vision
Well,
for it?
so I totally agree with a lot of things that Dr. Harville said. And the one thing that we have to keep in mind is collaboration. And I respect that. And so for me, as campaigning and wanting to be a part of the board, is my vision is about students, parents, and the community first. And I believe that that has what has been lost here within these 5 to 6 years with the current board. And I respectfully will say that a lot of the policies have not been friendly to a person such as myself who is a parent in the district, also a community partner. I run and co-founded a organization called the Triangle Society. So I understand the resources and the opportunities that are lacking for our students. And with my organization and the work that I do, I fill in those gaps. I've also been a PTA president over at Frederick Douglass for young men, and I understand our young men are in dire need. We know they get far less on the educational spectrum because their needs, you need a little bit more when educating young men. And I know that from having my son graduating in 2020, there, a lot of young men just need more support in the area of becoming men first and foremost, because a lot of them don't have dads and not active. But I have identified and I have come to work with my sleeves rolled up, working with parents and students. And then for our community, a lot of them feel disengaged and disenfranchised. We look to them to vote, to put board members on, I'm going to say on the stage. But a lot of issues that have occurred, people have been very unhappy about. And so, they feel they have been shut out. And so that is what I bring in my platform to run for the board, connecting those three pieces more uniformly. And I think that's what's missing currently on the board, that you have to have perspective that matters. And parents matter, and so does the community. And we're not going to move any needles academically if we all are not engaged and feel that we have skin in the game.
Give us your background, Monique. Are you a
So I
Detroiter?
am, yes, I am born and raised in Detroit, attended public schools. I attended Priest Elementary School, Munger for a brief time, Rudderman, which is now closed, William Rudderman, and I graduated
Mm-hmm.
from Cass Tech in 1986. I do have a BA in business administration. For the most part, I've always been an entrepreneur. I had a auto detail business, and I worked at several prominent dealerships as a manager in their service department. So very much a community person, understand what community service requires. About a one class short of my master earning my master's degree in adult training. So I understand working with young adults and working with adults with training, how that matters as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to take you guys to another place right now. I have a young man that I work with. Have known him for a few years now. He is an ex felon. spent 20 years in prison. Since he's been out, he has been working, trying to help other young men not to go to prison, trying to help young men who have been in prison not to go back and to get educated and to work in the community, but also working with young men who were convicted wrongly and who were in jail for 20 some years and should never have been there. And so they have been able to get out. Had a conversation with him in the last few days about the juvenile detention facility and how they have had some serious troubles finding people to be able to work in that facility. But he said something to me that really concerned me. He said he had gone in for a short time to try and help out. But he said that the young people in that facility today are very, very different than they were even when he was coming up. He said they are much harder. They are even scarier. And for someone who's been in prison for 20 years to say these young people are a lot scarier, that concerns me. What kind of programs, what kind of things could the school system put in place that would help our young men not go that route? And what do each of you think would be the cause of some of these young men getting into all the kinds of trouble that we are seeing them get into today? Deborah, what do you think?
So, Edna, that's a loaded question. I'm going to try to do a deep dive if we take it sectionally. For instance, so when I did my student teaching, I did my student teaching at the Detroit Youth Home.
Mhm. Ah, okay.
Charlie Primus was my
Charlie Primus was the friend. Yes, right.
okay,
Uh-huh.
and Charlie Primus gave me a key, and he said, "Young lady, if you ever lose this key, have mercy on you. This will get you in, and it'll get you out. Don't ever lose the key." And so, of course, that school is not there any longer. Okay.
Mhm.
And many of these programs are at the county level, but we have a couple programs in Detroit that help to prepare students to move away from that lifestyle, even though they have barriers. Okay. So we want to make certain that we really hone into that action now, because during this pandemic crisis, things happened.
Mhm.
Okay. Kids were angry when they found out that their grandparents had died or that the neighbor down the street had died. They just died and they were buried.
And
And it was
nobody knew. Nobody
okay.
said anything. Yep.
So we have to, first of all, we have to have a board member interested in that, interested enough to hone in on what a program should look like. Okay. That could be Monique, that could be Deborah, that could be Bishop,
Whoever.
whoever it is.
Mhm.
They have needs. Some of them don't even have parents or grandparents. So we have to prepare some things for their needs. We have to always have an academic packet, even though their academics has been scattered. Somebody may have learned how to read for the third grade and nothing else happened during the pandemic. And so here we come back to school. So we have to have wraparound services and extended day classes to tutor and reading. And that's not just only for the babies or the elementary or the middle kids.
Mhm.
Our high school students still can't read and might be reading on a third grade level. So if you have a wraparound program or an after school program that lasts until 6 or 7 with dinner, then you can hone in on those skills because you know they're going to be embarrassed. I don't want my friend to know that I can't read, but it is our job as being part of the village to put policies into place so that, in fact, those kind of programs happen. And then we take it to them or bring it to where they can get inside. And that's where we go with the parent academy, etc.
Okay.
Now, on tomorrow night, this is just one of the things that I've been working with. I'm having like a part 2 of a mental health awareness kind of a program. It's either tomorrow night or Wednesday night. You can go to DPSCD to see what's on the website. I know I'm engaged with them every night. It's a follow up. How do we take care of children that you've just brought forth, that you
Mm-hmm.
just discussed with us? Okay. But we have to come out of the closet and talk about it. And a lot of people have
Mm-hmm.
not done that. So I'm willing to lead that kind of a charge. It's not just to teach kids how to read for Deborah, it's how to teach kids to stay away from the wrong environment by giving them after school tutoring and also possible jobs at age 16. It's about talking with the parents about what works and what doesn't work and
Mm-hmm.
the kinds of things that we could do with it, and getting connected with some churches and 501c3 organizations, kind of like what Monique is talking about. But we need to have a big uh, community outreach campaign on those
Yes.
things. And what do you want us to do about it? Let's collaborate together. Remember how we used to do with schools of the 21st century?
Oh, yes. Those are
We didn't
21st
have all the
century.
ideas.
Nope.
It was each stakeholder group telling us what they thought was needed. I'm
Absolutely. And
willing to do that. I have
absolutely, I
that
sat
kind of
on.
energy
Yep, I sat on the schools
working
of
towards that.
21st century. Yep, I
Yep.
was on that board. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
where we met, schools of
yes.
the 21st century.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the other one is that I remember so well. Black Child Placed in Crisis, the conference we used to host here in Detroit every
Yep.
year,
We
that
did.
people came from around the world to attend.
They
We
did.
were the epitome of how to teach and help Black children.
They
What happened
did.
to what we used to be able to do?
They did. And Emerald Crosby and some of those old schools
Yes.
were there to help us to get there. And I was just a young person, just interested in knowing whatever I could understand and know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they say that about me. It's all in my head. It's there. It's not going away. I have a passion for saving children, all children, every kind of child we have. It doesn't matter to me if it's LGBT, if it's special ed, if it's just a child. They need us
They need help. They
because
need
somebody
help.
walks away from them every day.
That's right. That's right. Monique, what's your view on those young men?
Well, so having a son that is now 20 and being a parent over at Frederick Douglass Academy, which was all young men. And this is when we talk about perspective. And I would be the first to say that there are some things in place in our district. However, if we haven't done a great job about letting everyone know that these things exist, it's almost as if they're non-existent. I'm going to say, with my background and my children's father, unfortunately, his mother gave him up at 4 months old. He consequently got in problems and he ended up in prison.
Okay.
And the one thing that we were able to work on with co-parenting is that I allowed him to be a part of the parenting process. We have a lot of kids in this district that dads are not a part of the process
Yes.
because moms, for whatever reason, can't get along with dad, and that's an area. We
Yes.
always have plenty moms volunteering, plenty women organizations, but our men do not feel valued. They do not feel like they fit in the space to work with our young men. That's number one. Number two, our student code of conduct. Now, I get it. I don't want a student sitting at home missing instructional time, but we have got to hold students and parents accountable. That's where half of the problems start because kids have no respect for the authority of teachers or administrators. They have no respect for what their parents are telling them because the parents are the friends, not
And
the
the
actual
parents
parent.
don't know yet how to be parents. Unfortunately, I think we do
Exactly.
have a parent academy that needs to help parents understand that it is a responsibility, and they don't have to be their child's friend,
When I look
but
at
they
Parent
have to be a
Academy
parent.
courses, right. So we need to have courses that are actually helping parents be better parents. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the fluff stuff, the hustle classes and paint by numbers or whatever it is we're having. But perhaps when your student is chronically absent and or not achieving, we should be having, as we used to have students come on the weekends. Parents, now you have weekend class. So now you've got to learn how to learn some better parenting skills so that you know it's unacceptable for your student to be missing school 5 or 6 times out the month. It's unacceptable for your student not to arrive every day in uniform. We have to hold parents accountable for what their
Mm-hmm.
jobs are and then hold students accountable. And
Absolutely.
we cannot move forward in this district, even with having a curriculum change and some of the other things that we need wraparound services, but we need to get behavior in change, a change in that. And we need to definitely have parents on the same page as what the expectations are. And when they are not met, your student is going to be held accountable, and so are you. And I think that'll straighten out a lot of things, and that'll keep these students, especially our young men, out of situations that we find them in.
Let me
So,
go to another question. Last week there was a big conference, not conference, something held to talk about absenteeism, which is serious in our school district. And I'm told, based on information from universities and so on, that Detroit has the worst absenteeism, chronic absenteeism problem of big cities in the nation. What would you think if we talked about having um, our prosecutor and our court system have some conversations with parents whose children are chronically absent? Deborah?
okay, thank you, Edna, for the question. Just before I answer that, I'm concerned because I also want you to just put a pen, just write down. You want us to talk about the role of a school board member and the role of the superintendent and how the two of them work together. So put that off to the
I'll put that
side.
over. I'll put that on the
Put that
side.
off to the side, and let me go to your question.
Hmm.
You're saying, what would I think about it? I would have
Hmm.
no problem with it. So it would be a community meeting, or it would be separate meetings like you start in the high schools and go to all 20 so of them, talking about that with the facilitation of the counselor, the social worker, the school facilitators, etc. Here's what can happen. Okay. um then you come up with some strategies about what you hope would happen. Then you take that information and you give it to the school board members, or hopefully some of them are present. They got to know and they got to put it on their calendar. And then you determine the top 5 priorities and see how in fact we can develop policy for them. The policies have to be put in place around that. That way it won't all be in vain. Okay. Just like the absenteeism meeting that was held, I wasn't there because I was at another speaking engagement. But I know as a building principal and superintendent that if we don't get 75% of the students in the building, we don't get any funding for that.
Hmm.
I know that.
Hmm.
Okay. So my policies have to be around absenteeism, what causes it.
Hmm. Yep.
How can I, as a school board member, come up with some policies to give assistance to parents and students as it deals with absenteeism? Some kids are at home in the morning when it's time to go to school. So, as a school board member, When it came time to vote on whether or not we should get those extra vans rolling to pick up kids, I voted yes, without a shadow of a doubt. I approve that. I sign off on that because that will help absenteeism. Maybe mom has to be to work and the kid is in the house fumbling. If the band blows the horn, then they come out. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, I love any kind of programs that will help. When the programs start happening, I'm thinking about how do I turn that into a policy? A
Okay.
policy that all 7 board members will vote on. It's a yes. Then you take it to the high schools, you take it to the middle schools and the elementary schools so the principals can see it. So I am a process person. It doesn't happen just because Deborah said make sure this goes on.
Mm-hmm.
It is a process. So yes, I am for it. That's
Thank
my
you.
short answer. I'm trying
Okay.
to.
Monique, what do you think about that?
So I too agree with that. I mean, we have to have some accountability. When you have children, the responsibility is, and some further than the age 18, but you should be required from birth. We know health-wise, they should be seeing doctors, they should be in school, and those things, when you choose to become a parent, that's your job, whether you agree with it or not. Secondly, a lot of these issues, we already know what they are. One being the value of education is almost extinct. A lot of people, they are parents, they don't have education themselves. You have a generation who is raising themselves pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, and when we talk about attendance, there are parents who don't go to work regularly or that are chronically late. I mean, I've been in a position that I've had to hire people and I've had to let them go. If you don't come to work 3 days in a row, that's a no-show and we get rid of it. I
Mm-hmm.
understand the 75% attendance rate because we're about getting money, but let's be realistic. 50,000 of the kids who live in this city are outside of this district going to school. And those parents have the same type of transportation issues, but they're making it to get those kids to the bus stop. They're doing Uber, Lyft, whatever they have to do to make it to those bus stops where those kids are going outside of the district. So it's a symptom, that we have, that we keep saying, okay, we know what we know what's going on, but yet we don't really want to address it. And we're going to say we're going to knock on doors and we're going to ask people what's going on. I can tell you what's going on because I'm in the school every day. I've done rideshare, periodically over the 8 years, and I've picked up some of these same kids that a school is around the corner or down the block, and they're going 3 to 5 miles away to a school. So that's not the case. So these parents have to be accountable. Have to be. And I can remember a time when we had it was a thing with child support. So if you owe more than $5,000, guess what? The courts are looking for you and hauling you in to get people to pay because that's your responsibility. So again, I don't think that it's unrealistic or unfair that we call parents to the carpet and say, hey, you want the school board and the superintendent to put things in place that we're educating your kids. We're going to spend the money wisely. We're going to put the investment in. We're going to give you the resources. But what we need you to do as students and parents is to say, hey, I'm going to make a commitment to be here every day, ready to learn. And that can't be just rhetoric or words. It has to be a two-way street. So we've got to get that message across, because as we say, we students rise, we all rise. Nobody's rising. We aren't even rising in the morning to get to school on time.
Well, I tell you, I agree that we have got to find a way to make sure parents understand they have some responsibilities. And if that means that we have a relationship with the prosecutor and the court system that says, okay, parent, you have not done what you're supposed to do. This is the repercussion of you not doing that. And
And
let them, and then we let them know in advance, this is coming now. If you don't send them, this is what we're going to do. But what we
and,
have to do is follow through.
and if I can add, see, a lot of times people will say, well, why do I need to get to school? Teachers aren't, we're short staffed, teachers aren't in the classroom, you know, we go and start giving excuses based on their experience and what they're not seeing in the district. So they use that excuse. And this is, I've heard this.
I've
This is
heard that.
literally what I hear. So, they're not learning nothing anyway. They in school, prime example, we had count day. So that's a fun day. Kids are coming to school, but there's not a lot going on. We're giving incentives to get them there so we can count them, but there's no real learning taking place on that particular day. So, when you give that excuse, every day has to be a day when we're in school, it's about academics. And when you fall short of that, you allow the excuses to seep in from parents and from students. And I had to stay on my student. And at one time, that's really what got me working with the PTA and then becoming the president. Because I said, hey, I'm going to take time to make sure you're in school every day. Then I started picking up other young men, making sure they got to school. Then we started a uniform closet so that we're washing uniforms and having them prepared. And then I became everybody's mom or Auntie Mo because they knew I was about the business. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to hear anything. Are you in class? Why have you missed school? And kids can respect that. And when parents know that you respect them and you have a relationship with them, I can tell a parent, hey, listen, I'm not asking you to do anything that I haven't been doing and that I'm not willing to help you do. And I'm going to tell you, honestly, I don't see that in our board relationships. I don't see that from our superintendent. And, I'm not calling anyone out for the decisions that they make, but I certainly know, me personally, it's hard to respect a person that doesn't have skin in the game. And you're asking me or expecting me to deliver something to this district in exchange for education for my student, but I don't see that from you, and I don't see that from board members, and I don't see the heartfelt, not from every board member, but if we have 7 members and less than, half of my membership is not in these schools actually talking, we don't have to worry about knocking on doors or finding ways to find it. We have a PTA that should be chartered in every single school. We have a school advisory committee that requires 19 individuals collectively figuring out. So if we have those 2 entities doing the groundwork that are reporting back to our board, we don't have to spend all this time frivolously trying to figure out what's needed and what's the root cause. So that is why I think when I talk about having a parent that has skin in the game, that is out here in the trenches, bringing the perspective and the voice of those that feel unheard, I think we can really move forward effectively and collaboratively as a board and articulating those things as well to our district leadership.
So Edna, I did real well. I just gotta say just a couple things.
Uh-huh.
First of all, I am a school board member who's been on the other side of the game, having served as a teacher, principal, and superintendent, and special ed director. So I am engaged in the schools. I hope, Monique, that you consider me as one of those board members that's there. I've had at least 65 school visits this year. I've had at least with the previous school year leading up to June 2021, I know I went to at least 15 graduations and spoke at least 30 honors assemblies, um, had private conversations with kids about achievement. So I am a board member that does the work, so I can't kind of sit still. I know we've had successes. We came through that pandemic. Sometimes it seems like people are not remembering that for 2.5 years we were on stop, and the brains had to be ticking to figure out what needed to do. So when people say they're first defenders, I believe that I'm a first defender, and some board members were first defenders. We had to make sure that we ordered materials, that we got computers for kids, that we provided professional development for teachers. We had to get in the game, okay? So I don't want people to think that board members haven't done their jobs. We had safety officers, we just had some of everything going on. We have nurses in every building. We had just you name it. So we've accomplished those things. It's time to move on. We're not totally out of the pandemic. We're half in, half out, or we're almost closer to being done. So where do we go from now? We've got to increase student achievement. There's been many years that I've worked on increasing student achievement. And so I'm that kind of board member that will make sure that there's policy in place. So I feel like I have to say who I am so you'll know that I'm not about that business of board members being disconnected from the community. I'm very connected to the special ed community, very connected to the talented and gifted community, the general ed community, and we have 50,000 kids in the district. They're all my grandchildren, okay? And I have a nephew at Bates Academy. He's in kindergarten. No, he's in first grade now. Ever since he arrived from Arizona, I've been in his life and in that school. So there are several board members that visit. So I just got to say that and feel good about it. We're almost there, but you have to have a line between what is the role of the school board member and what is the role of the superintendent, and how do the two talk and collaborate to make things happen. So if things aren't happening in the district, I dare you to call Deborah Hunter Harville, okay? If a teacher is out, I dare you to call, because I will go in and teach it as certified until 2026. So I'm not that kind of board member, so I got to make sure that you, Monique, really know the real Deborah Hunter Harville.
Okay? And, and I'm going to say that you are that board member. I have seen you at graduation. I've seen you there, but I'm going to also say that as a parent, or I at this time I wasn't a parent, but I'm working with my organization and I go to various schools. If I know for sure that there's a board member that has a student in this school district, and I haven't seen you volunteering, I've not seen you in the PTA office, I'm kind of thinking, where is, your leading by example, and Deborah, I can remember back when I first became engaged with the board. And this is one of the things you brought up, and I was really surprised, and I was all for it. When we talked about rotating the meetings, the monthly board meetings around to several schools and not just having 2 or 3, I said, you know what? I thought that's a great idea. I said, because I've not been to all the schools, and that would give me an opportunity to go into these schools, to be exposed to the students and administrators. And that was like a 5-2 vote. Maybe you and one other person agreed to that. And I thought, okay, is this how we're really going to roll here? And I will say, you have been one of those board members that has really tried to reach out and meet students and parents and administrators where they are. And I know it's been very difficult to try to move a lot of things, that initiatives that you wanted to do and that you thought were well intended, but you just didn't have others on the same page. So I'm on record with saying that about you, Dr. Harville. And
Thank you.
You're a lot like me, and a lot of people can differentiate personal thoughts and feelings about someone versus what's moving things forward and what's best for our students, parents, and the community.
Well,
You
I
know,
love all
and
our kids, and I thank you for saying that. I love all of them, and I'm gonna be out there. That's what I signed up for. Okay,
that's it.
and it takes 7 votes to get what you want.
Absolutely.
It takes 7. Okay.
The magic number is
Thanks for
7.
listening to me. Yeah, I
Right.
appreciate it.
Ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate your
Hold on one
both being here this afternoon. It takes me back 35 years ago when I was on the school board, when
I
things
know.
clearly were
You're
a
my
lot.
role model. You're my role
Yes.
model.
Things were
Absolutely.
a lot different, but they are still the same in terms of the passion that's associated with being a school board member and being involved in the lives of children and community people. Because
Hold on, period.
children, that's their passion. Those are their babies.
Yeah.
And
Guess what's
they're
happening
very
now?
passionate about it. And so I'm just glad to have both of you here,
Okay.
so that everybody knows we've got some folks who know what they're doing.
I got some trick or treaters
And that's
at
good,
my
because I'm going
door.
to tell you, have a great day. Thank you both for being with us today.
God
I
bless you. Good
appreciate
luck
you.
on
It's
Thank
been
you for
this.
great.
having us.
I appreciate you. And as we end the show, I will tell you what I always end with, the quote from Dr. Martin Luther King that says, "Not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great, because greatness is determined by service. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love." Have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Community Bell Show, all of our listeners out there. The Stellar Award winning Community Bell and the
Hey,
WBTC family who have won a
congratulations.
Stellar Award. We're happy about it. Our
That's
owner, Dr.
wonderful.
Miss Sandra Rose, who's a black female who owns a radio station, who has won a Stellar Award. How about that?
Wonderful.
Yes,
Thank you for
yes.
being
Congratulations.
with us. We appreciate
Congratulations.
you. See you next Monday, the day before Election Day, everybody. Get ready to go vote.
I'll come back if you want. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you. Bye
I
bye.
have a passion for taking care of people, reaching out and seeing if I can make you the best you could be. I've had 40-year career in healthcare. I am dedicated and committed to this city. I love Detroit. The district, for the most part, had been imploded. 3 years later, we have demonstrated reform improvement greater than any other district in the state of Michigan, so that the children of the city of Detroit have equitable access to education and a quality level.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.